Hello, this is Peter Scanlan, Marvel Masterpieces 1995 artist, and you're listening to the Marvel Card Collector Podcast.
Hello everybody, my name is Ian Taylor and you are listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, your weekly digest of hobby goodness. If I expired in the next 90 minutes, then my collection will likely go to Goodwill. Failing that, by default, the shiny stuff goes to my guest co-hosts this week, Nathan Brabon, aka True Blue Collectibles, and from Moose Jaw in Canada, it's Jay By, taxidermist to the stars. Welcome to the podcast, fellas.
Jackpot! I get the shiny stuff.
Taxidermy. Well, no, you both get the shiny stuff. You have to share it between you. You'll split it. You'll split it. Jay, I didn't know until 10 minutes ago, ish, that you were coming on. Definitely. What do you collect? What kind of stuff do you go after?
I'm a '90s guy. I had some of the newer stuff, but I traded it off because I kind of wanted just to get to the sets that I kind of going for, like '95 masterpieces and '96, and
Nice.
then after I get those, which might take a bit, but then I'll graduate onto something. But other than that, just like '80s, like even those early '80s sets, like that's kind of what I'm into, like what I had when I was a kid and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I like that stuff a lot.
Fair enough. Well, there's plenty of stuff. There's plenty of stuff even in the 90s if you just stay with that. You know, there's so many sets there. It's ridiculous. Nathan, do you go after any 90s stuff apart from your PC stuff?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got my binder stuff for all the sets for the early '90s up through '95.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all those sets I'm slowly working on completing now. A couple of them are complete. Other than the obscure promo sort of things that are kind of hard to find.
Yeah.
Any given year, even.
Yeah.
But my favorites would be '94 Flair, and then probably '95 Metal. Second to that.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. 95 Metal. I'm just chipping away at unenthusiastically. It feels like I've been building that set for about 10 years because I have. So one day I'll actually finish it. Yeah. 96 masterpieces. I think I'm 2 away from the base set.
Oh, that's awesome. I got like 5.
Okay. Well, listen, if it's a start, you are.
Yeah. Well, I got a
5% of the
double
way.
impact though. I got a double impact in 3
okay.
of the gold galleries. So
Oh wow.
And then like 5 or 6 base cards. I usually get the inserts first for some reason. I don't know how that ends up that way, but
yeah,
I'm happy with that.
Nice.
They're my
Nice.
grail cards. So
yeah, they are stunning. They are stunning cards. The double impact I actually bailed on. I had 2 of them, but the rest of them I had the 2 cheapest ones, and the rest of them were so expensive. I was like, nah, forget that.
Well, that's my problem. They're expensive, right? You got to kind of go what you can get, right? So
yeah, exactly. Well, just chip away at the base set. It's one of those ones. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So
right.
Have you ever stuffed an elephant? Sorry, stuffed is probably an insulting expression for a taxidermist. But have you ever? It's going to sound worse. Have you ever filled an elephant?
We've done one elephant before, way back in the day. Yeah, those don't come around too often. Like usually, there was a guy, he went after an elephant and then it wasn't big enough, so he went and got another one.
What, in terms of hunting?
Yeah, in terms of hunting, we never ended up getting the job. So, but it's that's a kind of a big feat to get it over here, right? So,
well, yeah, exactly. Not to mention the job of actually doing it.
Yeah, it costs quite a bit to ship stuff overseas of that size.
What's the biggest thing that you guys have done?
The biggest thing? Well, we did a rhino. That was pretty big. A hippo, open mouth hippo. Those are pretty large animals. They're just shoulder mounts, and they're probably, if it was sitting flat on the ground, as tall as me.
Wow.
And I'm 5'8", so
wow.
Yeah, they're big animals. The 15-foot croc was pretty big. We've done shoulder mount giraffes. Those go pretty tall. Almost hit the roof, the one. So we have a pretty tall shop.
Goodness.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
It's what you do with the stuff that comes out of them that I'm intrigued by.
Well, anything from overseas, like say from Africa, they has to be dried out for 90 days and like protected from like
Wow.
invasive species and stuff like that. So it's kind of a process for us to get it over here. So we don't actually deal with the insides from there. That's taken care of overseas, right?
Gotcha.
The stuff here, like locally, the hunters typically deal with that. We have to do it somewhat, but the odd guy will come in and say he doesn't know how to cape his animal, and we'll have to show him how. But for the most part, it's mostly done.
It's a
There's
whole
some help.
world. It's a whole world out there, Nathan. I knew nothing about. Um,
Yeah.
this is it's fascinating. Do they do trading cards about taxidermy? Has anyone ever done that?
No, they haven't. Maybe I'll
Like,
pitch that idea.
I think you might need to, because some of Upper Deck's product line does cater for the I'm not going to say weird because I don't want to insult you, but the less beaten paths, shall we
Hmm.
say? Because I mean, some of their card sets had insects in them.
Oh, really?
I remember they were talking about that when we had Grant on, which boggles the mind. Anyway, um, so in the intro, I mentioned that if I expired in the next 90 minutes, so obviously, if I do expire in the next 90 minutes, I want you handling my taxidermy. But
Okay.
that would be terrifying. I wonder where you'd place
That
me.
would be, there actually is a place that does humans.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, somewhere down in the States. I'm sure it costs a lot of money,
of
but
course there
yeah,
is.
Of course, it would be
right,
here.
right. Right. No,
Oh my
there
goodness!
was. I don't know if they still do it or not, but we
Wow,
didn't really look into that much. But
wow. Okay, all right. Well, let's move on. Yes. So Jordan Poon, lovely fella. I think he's Canadian. I can't remember now. Anyway, he put a rather fantastic post on MCCW a couple of days ago that I know Jay you commented on, and Nath, I think you've seen by now.
Mhm.
And I'm basically going to read out his kind of opening gambit. So just bear with me while I just read at you. But for the people listening at home, this could be quite an interesting one. So. Oh my goodness me, sorry, bear with me. My keyboard. I've got this new keyboard, and it does phantom things where it starts pushing things that I haven't touched, and windows start popping open. So I think I might need to get a wired one rather than a Bluetooth one. Anyway, um, so Jordan Poon, discussion time. I can do this all day. A phrase many of us Marvel fans have become familiar with over the years, and a question I've been asking myself lately. I've accumulated a pretty nice collection of cards, comics, and memorabilia over the years that I'm very proud of. And whilst there are probably hundreds of things I would like to get, I would be mostly happy if I never added anything else today. This past year in particular, I've made a ton of progress to my collections, but what happens when I reach all my self imposed goals? I don't have any intention of selling my collection at the moment since I'm still having fun, but to realistically know I can't do this forever. I don't have any children to pass down my collection to, and I don't particularly share my hobbies with anyone outside of online communities. So my end option is probably going to end up selling everything down the line. Like many of you, I've called certain things forever PC items, and I've used that to facilitate deals to show I'm a collector of whatever I buy or trade for. However, keeping these things forever doesn't seem like the best idea to me. Obviously, special circumstances could dictate the need to expedite the process of selling precious items, which luckily I haven't experienced. I've definitely overspent on certain things, but overall, this hobby has not financially ruined me, where I've been forced to sell. But who knows? This hobby isn't getting any cheaper. Boxes are overpriced, singles are expensive, and prices and people have become way more volatile. I didn't notice he'd said people until this moment, but yeah, that's an interesting one. Many collectors view these cards as assets, which they certainly can be viewed as such, but at the end of the day, it's still just shiny cardboard that can end up being worthless at a moment's notice. I've collected other things in the past that gave me a ton of joy when I first got them, but I probably couldn't even give some of that stuff away today. So, would people even want my collection? Again, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon, but every once in a while I think I should just get rid of all of it. Just some food for thought. Anyways, what's everyone else's Endgame with a capital E. You see what he did there? With their collections. Pass it down to your kids' family. HODL until you get a rocket ship to get to the moon. What's HODL mean in this context?
I have no idea.
No,
Hold on,
nor do
you're
I.
right.
Hold on
Never
for
heard
dear
that.
life. Yeah, possibly.
Possibly.
Keep it forever, quit and sell. Just curious if this ever crosses other people's minds as well. There's a ton of comments, but I just kind of wanted to get your instant reactions to it from your point of view. Who wants to go first? This
Oh,
is
I can
silent.
go first, I
You
guess.
silence. Yeah. Go for it.
Um, I want my collection to go to my daughters because, like, when I was younger, like, didn't have much as a kid, right? And like up here in Canada, even so, like, we never got the sets that I'm finding now. Like, there's no 95 masterpieces up here, not
Mm,
even like 93 or 94. Like, it was so we don't get the cards up here, right? It's just one of those things. So, like,
yeah.
we only had like the first three Impel Marvel Universe series, and like I had those traded off a bunch of hockey cards for them when I was like, well, probably about 10 or 11, and didn't even know that there was holograms at that point or whatever. And then over a series of moves we did as a family or whatever, I ended up losing all those cards. And I used to draw them all the time. So it's kind of, I really was disappointed that I didn't have them anymore. And over all these years, I don't know, about 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, I finally found a stack from my comic book guy buddy, and it kind of drove me to get those sets back. And then that's when I started noticing all these other sets, right? Like, I was just like, holy, there's so many. Like, I have like 32, and there's more than that. You know what I mean? And so, like, when I started getting my sets back, and then I got my holograms, I was like so excited. So my wife was like looking at me really funny because I was jumping up for joy. I was like, I'd never seen them before. I was just like, wow, look what I got. You know what I mean? And then so, well, my daughter, she was like probably one. She'd be sitting there like this, looking at my cards when I was putting them in, and she thinks I'm Wolverine now, and she's Spider-Man, and it's
Oh,
really cute, and she's really into it. So like I want to get all these sets, or as many as I can, completed, so that I'm hoping that when she understands what I have, that she gets that excitement, because
yeah.
I feel like a lot of things these days have been lost, for kids. Like, it's not the same anymore. So I kind of just want her to look at all my cool stuff, and maybe carry on the torch. Is it's like probably not going to be worth a whole bunch, so hopefully all these sets keep coming out, and she decides to build and build and build.
Well, that's the thing, I guess. They might not be worth that much, but hopefully, if she's got the memories of you two doing that together when she was little, there'll be value there for her. That's
That's
kind
what
of
I that's
priceless.
Right. That's what I'm kind of hoping for, because like I never had that when I was a kid. It was just me and the cards, right? And I drew them, in my own time, and it was just that's one thing I remember from my childhood, right? Is these sets and getting them back and seeing all these other sets, and then all of a sudden I find these masterpiece cards. I'm like, what the hell are these? And then I get to 95, I'm like, wow, these are getting expensive. And then 96, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, we never had those up here at
Yeah.
all. Like, I don't, it's so that's what's really hard to find guys to like trade with up locally. So I mean, it's usually paying a lot of shipping or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But because up
Yeah.
here in Canada, some guys have them, but not nearly as many as guys stateside. It's so that's where most of my trading and buying and selling goes towards. And, it's all for that goal for her, because I want to make a big man cave with cool looking displays and stuff, and figures. I got figures, Toy Biz figures, and I got my Sega games.
Nice.
I got
Hey,
X-Men 2 here, and I even got my favorite one, Maximum Carnage.
nice.
found those all at
That's
a
just fun.
garage sale here not too long ago.
There
So
you
I got
go.
the video game collection. Hey, you even got the box.
Oh yeah. I know. I only collect box, and they've got me.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen that one for a long time, man.
Yeah. I
That's
wouldn't.
awesome.
I can't say it's the best game I've ever played. I won't
No,
lie to you,
no,
but it's it's about the licensing, isn't it? Oh, there's got to be a video
right.
game. Now, back in the day, it was
Absolutely.
all right. You got to have a meal deal at a burger restaurant. You got to have a soundtrack album. You got to have T-shirts, and you got to have a video
Right.
game and a trading card set if you were lucky.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm guessing you're an X-Men guy from your.
I'm actually Wolverine. I was gonna wear this today. I have a TikTok. My wife thought it'd be a good idea because I bought that at a garage sale. So I started jumped in the truck and I put it on and I started filming myself to embarrass the family. And then the wife suggested to her daughter that she make a TikTok up for me. So then I started actually going through drive-throughs and the grocery store and embarrassing her. So I made a TikTok. Just got a bunch of videos of me
That's
embarrassing.
hilarious.
Yeah.
You're
So,
Canadian, so you're allowed to, you're allowed to wear it. I'm surprised they don't issue them to every adult male when they reach a
right.
certain age.
That's
Um,
what I. That's exactly how I think.
yeah. Well, there we go. Yeah, Tony Perner and Joshua Legg will both be raising thumbs at that point. Um, Nath, have you given any thoughts, kind of, because you've got a rather amazing man cave that you're sat in. I can see an awful lot of figures and
Yeah, it's
stuff in a
okay. It's all
cabinet that
right.
you turned on with remote control. That just you've got to talk to me about that afterwards. But what do you think? Where do you think it's going to go? Because you're not going to be here forever, and some of that stuff will never
Honestly,
biodegrade.
honestly, my wife will probably just take it to a card shop to try to sell it, or she'll reach out to the friends that I already talked to and be like, "Hey, anybody interested in this? What can I get for it?" Sort of situation. My daughter goes when I go to card shows. My daughter will go with me. She when I used to set up at them, she would go and hang out for the weekend with me at the show because
Mm,
it was a way for us to bond. But she's not really into cards. Like her collecting stuff is more miniatures. She loves miniatures. She's pretty short in her own stature, so she doesn't like go. She doesn't gravitate towards cards. She likes Jubilee. So if
mm.
I find her a cool Jubilee card, she'll take it. And what she'll do is she'll rotate them out on her display. She's got one stand, and she just rotates the cards out every week
Oh,
with
nice.
her cards that she has. So I think that's just a way for her to stay connected with me. And but yeah, as far as like collecting, I don't. My collection it's mostly binders. I do have the Domino PC, but other than that, I honestly think they're just gonna move on from them, and that's okay with me. Like I don't, I'm
Mm,
not. My collection isn't about what the value of the collection is. It's about this is what I like. This is what I like to look at. This is what I like to
yeah.
enjoy. Even my set building is these are the sets that I like. These are the sets that I enjoyed opening.
Mm,
So then I build those sets out. If I don't enjoy the set, then I don't collect the binder set.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think long term for me, it's probably in a situation kind of like Jordan had said, like, what's going to happen with this stuff if something happens? I'm not all concerned about it because I'm not going to be here anyway. Um, but it is nice that the family can get something out of it if they
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's an interesting one about the you're collecting it because it gives you joy at the end of the day. That's your it sounds like you're both on the same wavelength on that. That's why you collect the cards, and everyone's different. People collect for different reasons. So, I'm going to dive into some of the comments because there's some interesting kind of angles on this one, and I thought it would be good just to talk them over and just get to bounce some of these around a bit. So Brad, who's been on this podcast a number of times, Brad Galley, says he's been thinking about this a lot over the last couple of years. I've slowed down considerably, taking advice from friends in the group and focusing on singles for my MCU collection. I found myself selling cards from my favorite sets featuring my favorite characters, all to buy new sets that I didn't end up liking at all. That was a reality check. I tried buying cases to better my shot at a big auto, and that didn't happen. Consistent strikeouts on all of these overprinted products. I'll miss opening boxes as frequently as I used to, but the prices don't match what's inside the packs, not even close. So that's an interesting one. So he's kind of talking about his experience of actually collecting now rather than kind of the end goal of it,
yeah.
and shifting gears. I've noticed heck, we talked about this when no one was still on board at the start of the year, is that there's been this big shift over the last couple of years of people moving from sets to focusing on singles rather than buying sealed product. Can you relate to that at all?
Yeah, I can. Sealed product is a big gamble nowadays, whether you're buying new stuff or you're buying old stuff. And to the end of his comment there, where he says that the prices don't match what's inside the packs, just real quick on that, you shouldn't expect it to either. You know, resaleability of the boxes are already built into that. We can't open a 90 MU box and expect the cards in there to be worth what you're paying for the box, right? It's just not realistic without grading them.
Yeah.
And then hitting tens on that. But yeah, I found myself, instead of going and buying 10, 20 boxes of something to try to build the set, I found myself just going, I am going to 100% straight up wait till Comp-C starts getting flooded with cards. I will buy the singles at that point to build my sets up. So I'm still building a set. I'm just not doing it in the way that I used to do it. Because it's just not cost effective anymore. So you got to find alternative options to be able to collect the way you want to collect. But yes, there has been a big swing. I'm saying this facetiously. True collectors, I love when they call themselves that. Set builders.
Don't get me started.
People that are true hobbyists. You know, they things have changed a lot for them too. So the way they collect, the way they're able to access cards has changed drastically. There's a lot more people in Marvel now than there used to be a couple of years ago. I mean, it's we all want the hobby to grow, but that comes with a trade-off. That means there's going to be less cards for you. That's how it works. That's the only way a hobby grows. You need to then produce more of the product. That's the only way the hobby grows. People need to alter how they collect. That's the way the hobby grows.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing, I've seen people altering how they collect. And Jay, I know you don't sort of go for the newer stuff, but I'm sure even you would have seen how much is coming out at the moment.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. Like I would have loved to get in on that the new masterpieces, but like the price for it is, for me, you know, I just, it's not doable if I want to get what I'm actually going for. You know what I mean? Like just the cards that I want right now are almost as much as the sealed boxes. Right. So I gotta pick and choose. Like, and even like one of the sealed products that I'd love to get is like a 96 Wolverine, like sealed box.
Oh yeah.
Or just a sealed pack of the 96 masterpieces, but like that's like $500 Canadian for just the box. And you know, and like I don't care, like I'd get one just to rip it and then build the rest of the set out of that, right? But you know, I got a family too. You know, I can't just be selfish for myself, and so I got those on the back burner. But other than that, like I just gotta, like, I'm a set builder, so I gotta pick and choose, right? I gotta find people who want to trade or sell just cards here and there, and I've done pretty well doing that. It has slowed down quite a bit in the last couple months, though. Like but you know, it does that. It'll slow down. It'll pick up.
Yeah, you get seasonal stuff.
Just gotta be patient.
Yeah.
You know.
Because the thing is, I think they've definitely, you know, if you think about the fact that the hobby went, you know, post-COVID, obviously there was a little bit of a contraction, but there was a lot more people. There's a lot more. I think of it as hungry mouths. You know, when the birds in the nest, they're going like this. You know, there's a bigger litter, you know, waiting for new products. Spider-Man Metal comes out, first set for ages. Of course, there's all that pent-up demand from all those new people. But now it's kind of like, I mean, literally, we've had more sets this year than in the last 3 combined. Possibly even 4, because, you know, they were going at a fair clip in 2019, but this year's just been relentless. I mean, we had What If 2 weeks after Masterpieces. And that was only 2 weeks after Beginnings, I think, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then Allure was a month before that. And literally, it's what's the expression we have in the UK? Today's news is tomorrow's chip wrap. When you used to buy fish and chips and they used to be wrapped in the newspaper, it's almost that. I mean, no one's looking at Allure at the moment, and
No, I
Beginnings has
noticed
just
that too.
vanished.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that sets have just dropped from the kind of focus, which is great from my point of view, and I'm sure yours too,
I think
Nathan, because you're
that kind of ties into Brad's middle portion of his comment where he
yeah.
says, I found myself selling cards from my favorite sets, featuring my favorite characters, all to buy new sets that he didn't end up liking at all.
Yeah, he bought boxes.
There's a lot of people doing that. It's that
Mm.
chase, right? Everybody wants, people are trying to hit big. The human psychology is I have to get it now because if I don't get it now, all the good stuff will be gone. Not understanding that good stuff will come back around at some point in
Oh,
time.
absolutely. Yeah. You just got to hold. That's the toughest thing. It's like that bit in 300 where they have to hold against that advancing army.
Yeah.
You do. I've had conversations with someone on DM, and he keeps messaging me and said, oh, my local hobby shop has got them in, and they're 850 or whatever it is, and I'm like, I just keep sending him back the meme that says hold. So I mean, if you want the experience of opening it, I get it, but yeah, but the interesting thing is, you mentioned it's quieter at the moment. I think that's because of the fact that people are just so focused on the new stuff at the moment. So I think no one's had a chance to really settle and just like, okay, what have I got? What am I doing? What's my focus?
A large number of sets that have come out this year, and some of those are makeup sets. I mean, we got Eternals, for crying out loud. How long has that movie been out?
2 years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's been out long enough that the set should have come out a while ago. Well, because the printing stuff, the other sets that they had already contractually obligated to create, they have to create this stuff. It's just the release patterns don't make any sense.
Yeah.
If you're having sets get pushed back 6, 7, 18 months in Beginnings cases.
Yeah. Yes. That said, I'm enjoying the heck out of the Eternal set. So, because I'm not trying to collect it all. I'm just trying to collect little bits here and there. It's beautiful. So, and a mad ass concept and some mad ass images, whatever you think of the film. Another fella, Mark Posgay or Poshgay. As a newer collector, I've been finding a lot of joy in the cheaper sets, annual anime. It's interesting. I've not seen anime described as a cheaper set, but I guess it's all relative, isn't it?
It is cheaper when you look at it the grand scheme thing.
That's like what I'm saying. Yeah,
$120 on release. So,
and now what if are all super cool to me. Don't get me wrong. I did dip my feet in Spider-Man, Metal Furor, and Masterpieces, but I think the cheaper sets is where I'll find the most fun. And that ties in. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of what Lewis says: rip responsibly, because you can spend your money on a Masterpieces or a Premiere, or you can just go for the cheaper products that are just as much fun, depending on what your goals are. So I did what if. Oh, he's making him. What are you making, Jay?
I'm making a cup of coffee here.
Oh, good. You go for it. This is going to be on YouTube, by the way, so people will see your kitchen. That's fine. You don't mind, do you?
That's okay.
You don't mind. He's not proud. Look at how much milk that man has. I like your fridge. For those listening on audio, it's Jay's kitchen, everybody. But there is, you can find, and that's certainly been my focus this year, is rather than not necessarily going for the full sets, although some people are, you can find the joy. That's the expression I've been using a lot this year. You can find the joy in the sets without having to dive fully into them. And I know you've been doing that, Nath, with some of the stuff you've been going after. So what are you building at Beginnings and Annual? What you kind of just using those as an example because we were chatting about.
So Beginnings, I'm not building anything out from Beginnings. Okay. Overall, the set's not my jam. I don't. It's spread out over 3, which is fine. But I mean, if you're talking over 3,000 cards for just the first segment of this new volume or this new series of it, that's going to be a massive set, and it's going to be too much to try to do a binder set on. But
Oh,
with
yeah.
annual, I'm building out the entire set. So all of the base cards, all the inserts, all the stickers, all the canvas cards, the blues, the silvers,
So you're doing the full parallels as well.
yep, all of that. Not the serial numbered stuff, but just all the unserialized stuff,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
all that. Now I probably will at some point potentially pursue a suspended animation set, but that's going to be after it hits EPAC,
Yeah, wait
after
for
it hits
EPAC. Yeah,
ComC.
yeah.
Once people start dumping them, because right now you're looking Wolverines and Spider-Man suspended animations out of 99 going for $350 up, and that's just not, like Jay said, I got a family. I can't just go drop that on a card that's going to sit in a binder.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. It's a
it's
crazy
different
amount
if
of
you
money.
save up and you stick it in the display case, but
Well, that's different. That's slightly different, I guess. Yeah, I guess one thing, Jay, with your kind of ballpark that you're playing in, you haven't quite got this whole parallels thing going on. I mean, you've maybe got you had the gold signature parallels where they're printed on for some of the 90s one.
Yeah.
And I think the
Mhm.
Kubert Chromium set had, well, the Chromium version, the regular version, an international version. I think there was a
Yeah.
fourth one. But apart from that, it's pretty much it, isn't it? You get set from a box pretty much in most cases.
Yeah, well, like, and that's the thing with like the newer stuff. There's so many cards. I with the older stuff, like you get your base set, you'll get your gold
Mm,
signature set if there's one. Then you get all your insert subsets or whatever. But like, even with like say the '94 masterpieces where they got the bronze, the silver, and the gold, like
yeah.
Yeah.
I got one gold. I'm probably not gonna get the bronze because those are like
Mm,
for the set like $700, and I just can't justify. If I get them one here and there, it's fine. But like, like I can only do so much because like I want certain things. Like I wouldn't mind more '96 masterpieces. Like I want some hollow flashes for the 95 and like for me, those are already enough money, right?
yeah.
Like I
Mhm.
can't just outright buy those subsets. Like the other ones, like the silver hollow foils for the '94s, like that's like what $40 maybe. Like
Mm, mm,
that's okay because I'm getting 10 cards for that much money, right? Or whatever. But and like with all this new stuff, you got all the different parallels. Like I don't even know how a guy keeps up with all of that. Like even with that the new what if, like the new what if stuff, like those '90s retro cards, that would be cool to me to get. But how many? See,
Yeah.
right? Those are cool, but how
Yep.
many boxes do you need to get them all? Like,
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
got
don't know, man.
I think there's 50.
there's a 50 base set, and how many did I get?
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
I think
One,
you get
two, three.
about one per, not even one per pack.
I got 7, so that's about one every 2 packs.
Yeah.
And then I got a few parallels of them as well because they do these in shiny versions.
Right? Because then
Yeah. So I
then
mean
there's the
you're
parallels.
talking,
Yeah. But they are beautiful. I mean, they've done them really well, apart from the fact that it's a
Yeah,
glossier finish. I mean, even the backs.
yeah, absolutely, and that just takes me right back. Like so,
Yeah.
like with the
yeah.
new stuff, like if I was to collect anything, like I'm probably gonna go for something like that.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't really want to get into the newer stuff until I get some of the stuff that I'm really going for. Because then
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
sidetracked and
Hmm.
then I got 4 or 5 sets on the go, and I get way too ahead of myself.
I
And
I pray for the days when I have just four for the 4 or 5 sets on the go. I've trimmed it down a lot from 30 or so that it used to be. Um,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, it is crazy, which is why I just tried to go for elements. At the moment,
yeah,
I'm just saying to Nath before we started recording, I'm just capping off a COMC order of about 200 cards, and I'm basically going through COMC, and I've put a certain amount of credit on there, and I'm seeing if I can just finish up. Okay, that's the element of that set I'm going for. Let's just finish it up. That's the
right,
element of that, and it basically means that okay, I'm done with that element of that set or that set entirely because I was only going for that portion of it. Falcon and Winter Soldier is a good example. I just went for the forged vibraniums and I was rainbowing 3 of the images because I liked them.
Yeah.
yeah,
And once this compy shipment happens, that'll be it, unless I pick up an auto. A couple of months, few years down the line. Um,
Yeah,
So,
I did that with the Arc World set from X-Men Metal. I was like, all right, let me put a little bit of money on here.
yeah.
This is my budget for Arc World.
Yeah.
What can I get to try to build that subset up? And I got everything except for the SSPs and the short prints
Nice.
for the Arc World set for well under what I put in there for my budget.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way of doing it. And the thing is, most of the time people will, especially if it's just sat there on ComSale. I mean, some of these cards just sit there, on the shelf. And you throw an offer out, and sometimes people are like, they've got it set that they don't take offers. And sometimes people will be like, yeah, just gets it gone. I've got a bit more money to spend myself. So, just depends who it is, I guess. I'm going to move on. There's some interesting comments here. Garrett Mills writes, this is a very familiar story to my own, right down to the no offsprings and begrudging acceptance of the fact our childhood commencement of this hobby, read life, began so simply. Buy what your allowance would cover and mug old ladies for the rest. It's a fair point. Where did he grow up? The Bronx. I find myself thinking, you're welcome, 12-year-old me. Apologies to anyone who lives in the Bronx, by the way, notably Bob Budiansky. When I complete a base set that I've had no chance in hell of completing in 5th or 6th grade. Most of us guys in this hobby, and as such are ingrained to conquer, acquire, amass, and make mine with reckless abandon. But to the point of that caveman lizard brain, what do you do when you've stalked, chased, and caught all the wired Digimos pizzas on the prairie, and now your belly is full? I should have read all this in full beforehand because he goes off on one. You find a tangential hobby that will make use of all this character knowledge. Maybe go and teach via podcast or silent movies if your voice scares children. Properly. This is hilarious. You could get into geocaching and hiding your containers with clever names and hints only fellow Marvelites, I'm trying that out, would understand. You could try to crowdsource indie films related to these characters. There's a ton. But you should never look at your collection and think, should I have bought a flying Humvee with the money instead? Is there such a thing as a flying Humvee?
I don't think so.
If you're in the
Only in the
military, you know this. There we go. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you for confirming that. In a regretful melancholy, be proud and beat your chest and say, I fucking own this cool artwork, most sought after, the rarest, etc. collection of small rectangles. And when you die, somebody eventually will get their hands on your triumphant harem of colourful paper and have their own journey. But that's not for you to worry about. Standing round of applause for Garrett Mills and his colourful metaphor there. But he's got a point, because he says himself he's got no one to pass it down to. So, and he says, it's not for you to worry about, because when you're gone,
they're going to do whatever they want with it anyway.
You're gone.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
I just hope it doesn't go into the garbage.
Yes, exactly that.
Right?
Exactly that.
You do hear those stories,
somebody else, don't throw it away.
Never throw it away.
It's little pieces of art to me. Like I got some of my insert sets displayed in like those wall pictures, and like they really look great. Like to me, they're just little pieces of art, and if you display them however you want, obviously, but like if you do it like really nice, like some guys got like immaculate man cave, they're just really cool, and that's kind of my goal with it, right? Like I got all bunch of toys and all my little collectibles, and I want to put the graded comics, the cards, and just aside from I got a heavy metal side of me too, so like it'll look cool in my man cave when I get a big enough room, but that's what I want. I don't want it to go in the garbage. It's a fun journey meeting all these people, collecting too, and if this kind of thing can just continue on after I'm gone, that would be great.
There's some interesting very similar kind of themes on here. There's one guy, to me, it's all about liquidity. If I want to change positions, how fast can I do it? With modern sets, it looks like it's very illiquid. With 90s sets, you can probably liquidate everything in a few weeks. Is illiquid actually a word? I don't know. Here's a follow-up question. If all of this went to zero tomorrow, who would be in trouble? And I kind of like that, I guess, because that's, there are, people collect for different reasons. And some people do it's asset investment, I guess.
It would be the resellers,
Yeah.
the people that resell their cards,
Yeah.
as a source of income,
Yeah.
not just as a, okay, I don't need this anymore, so I can sell it.
Or as in hobby feeding the hobby. Yeah.
Right, because at that point you can just keep it and
Yeah.
wait till it potentially comes back. But the
Yeah,
ones that are doing it as a source of income, those are the ones that would get hurt.
There's how cool would it be if there was a museum of Marvel cards that we could donate some of our best cards to when we die? Shall we start that?
That would be really cool. I think.
Let's do it. I'm stealing that idea, Brandon Cronin. Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. There's some really interesting stuff. I'm trying. There's one in particular that just made me stop and think for a bit. But I'm just trying to find it. Bear with, because my goodness me, there's a lot here. Here we go. Right, Bob Feller. It's a great question for every collector to ask themselves. I've collected many things as well and sold off much of it, only to put the money back into collecting. I was once told it's only stuff, which resonated with me. There are some collectors that will hold on to just about everything they have acquired, but I think in the end they are the minority. When I hear the phrases forever home and I'll never sell, I put zero weight in those comments as they're often not the reality down the line. Most people have a price and a point where they simply move on entirely or in another direction. You ever been tempted to just change hobbies, sell it all?
No.
No.
Moving on.
I mean, yeah, there's way to his comment though. I mean, there is a number that, like, if somebody goes, hey, here's this much money, sell me all your collection. Okay. I'll just go buy it again for less than you just paid me. So
yeah. I suppose you're right there. Like I would do that too, and not just buy it all back, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, but
and treat yourself to a nice steak meal with a change,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm talking about the good cuts as well. Someone's touched on this elsewhere in here. I can't remember where it is now, but someone has mentioned about kind of ending one hobby and kind of that winding down and moving into another. And I've definitely done that myself. I used to be big into the video games, as I'm sure people are sick of hearing me talk about. And I've got a pretty decent sized comic collection, but both are significantly less than they used to be. Because I've chosen, I've kind of, I've doubled down and, I can't imagine me going into any other kind of hobby or area other than Marvel cards now for the rest of my days. I'm kind of, this is it, because I get so much enjoyment from it. I get to do this. I get to talk to you fine people. And it's more than the cards, if that makes sense.
It's a little bit, yeah. No, I agree with you there for sure.
It's the community of it. It's the comment. But I can't read at the same time. Nathan, what you've just sent me something, and this is where I'm supposed to smooth.
I think this is the one that you were. This might be the one that you were talking about. The comment.
Oh, do you want to tackle it? Do you want to tackle it? Because I can't.
Brett Thomas Chamberlain.
Okay.
Says, as a father of two, I've actually began to start selling most of my collection. I've gotten to the point where if I don't have a desire to display it in my office, it's time to sell. I don't like packing things away to collect dust because I just don't see the point. That, and I'm finding ways to support new hobbies with the sales. For example, being a sketch card collector, I've been inspired to actually start drawing for the first time in 15 plus years. So I bought an iPad Pro and I'm having the blast doing digital drawings on Procreate. For me, my hobby interest comes in waves, and for Marvel cards, the wave is kind of fading away at this time. I'm not sad about it, because I've met tons of those awesome people in the groups and on Whatnot as a buyer and a seller. It's definitely the fun times I will cherish more than the tangible collectible. Though some of the cards I'm keeping serve as a nice reminder. Who knows? Maybe my name might be on the back of one of those sketch cards being pulled in a few years. What a full circle that would be.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is. Yeah, I mean, people do change lanes. They change lanes. There's one fella. I'm good as a follow up to that. I'm going to read a comment from Andrew Servey. I think that's how you pronounce your surname. this is like the fifth time I've said that on the podcast, and every time he sends me a message and says, "No, you pronounce it like this," and every time I forget. But it doesn't matter because he starts with, "I left the hobby recently." Sketches were getting too expensive. Unbound Madness and Time Effort. I'm like, oh, Jay, seriously, you're better off out of it with Unbound. I mean, I know, Nave, you do it every week, but
Every week.
there's a certain
Can't
level of
do it.
madness and self flagellation involved with with keeping up with Unbound. Nave, I've mad respect to you for sticking with it. I mean, I know you enjoy it, but still, it's
Has Unbound like taken a dive or something? It seems though. Like I've noticed, like I've never seen it on ePack, but the last like month, I've noticed the packs are still there for a week. Like I don't know, it just seems to me like I haven't
It's
seen the post too much about it no more, and
yeah.
it just
It's
seems like it took a
it's
dive or
character
something.
selection on Upper Deck's part is all it
Yeah,
is really. I mean, and the people chasing. It gets
yeah,
expensive to buy 20 packs a week to
absolutely.
potentially hit an auto,
Right.
um and if you're not one of the first few people getting it out there, you're dumping your cards for half of what you
mm,
just paid for them.
Yeah. Like I don't do the ePack thing. It's again that's a financial type of thing, right? My wife would
Mhm.
kill me if she found out I bought a pack of cards for
I think you're better
21
off.
bucks or
Yeah.
something. Might be cause for divorce if I max out the credit cards on ePack or something. But that was just one thing I noticed in the last few weeks is like there's unbound packs still left up on there, and I'm not noticing too many posts about it anymore. But again,
Yeah,
if it's characters, right? And but
yeah, because
that was
was the
just
most recent biggest character was Miles, and that was gone in like 7-8 minutes,
Mm,
just like we saw like at the beginning of Unbound this year, just like
yeah,
we saw with Gwen. Yeah, so the big characters will still get the draw every week, even though they're only announcing it an hour before the
yeah,
start time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. It has gone down, but it also talks to the fact that as well as the characters being, I mean, what was it? We had was it Man Wolf? Who was it?
Warwolf,
Warwolf.
yeah,
At least Man Wolf I've heard of. I know his first appearance in Spider-Man 1, 2, something. Anyway, um, Warwolf. Who the fuck is Warwolf? And then there was another one. Who was last week? Knife. Do you remember?
Odin was last week.
Odin was last week. Now Odin, yeah, obviously
Odin was
everyone's
good,
heard of
but
Odin.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the this past quarter was filled with who the fuck.
Mm. And
well,
no
that
no
was
disrespect to Fred and Ian. The artwork
No, they don't get
is
to pick them. They just
phenomenal.
have to paint
But
them.
yeah, is it the Tinkerer? Was it the Tinkerer that
Tinker, that
that,
one I
that
actually
was
really like
actually
that one,
Fred?
and they really enjoyed that
Yeah.
one because that was Ian
Oh,
as the
Ian, there
model
we
for
go.
that
Right, there
one.
we go.
Yeah,
Right, that's right.
because
Because I know they were chasing him down.
they're trying to build the entire set, so they're
Yes,
trying to get all the plates. They have
yes.
like everything except for like one or two of the plates, I think.
Yeah, and
So,
people are helping them out as well because it's like I love
mhm.
that. I love that. It's like as an artist, if you're going to go after some of your work, then why not the ones you appear in yourself?
Exactly, yeah.
So no, it's fascinating. Anyway, sorry, going back to Andrew, because I think I was halfway through reading his comment. Um, Unbound Madness and Time Effort, amongst other things. In the end, I felt the same. What's the point? What would I do with all these? They're beautiful pieces of art you can display and enjoy, I suppose, but even that passion evaporated. Sure, I have kids and or family to leave them with, but they would be just someone's burden to sell or end up in the trash. I now focus on my movie collection and bass guitar. I've been stress-free and now have more money. I mean,
Truth,
you can't argue with it.
especially the last
yeah,
part. Truth.
Yeah,
right.
because it is expensive. I mean, if I total up what I've spent on cards this year, even on a relatively modest income, then yeah, I mean, crikey, that'd be a nice holiday. That'd be a really nice vacation and steak dinners for the rest of the year. So I dread to think, what I mean, Nath. I mean, I always get the impression that you're a big spender and a whale, as they call them, but I imagine you're probably not. You just
No,
position yourself in places where cards are being opened and people think they're yours.
apparently that's what happens.
Yeah,
Completely unintentionally, but
yeah.
no, but I mean, we were just talking about Unbound. So I collect the base and the rainbow for Unbound
Mm,
this year.
mm, mm.
Those are the achievements I go after. At $15 a pack, if I bought 2 packs and I got a base and a rainbow every week, that's like over $1,500
Yeah,
just to every week buy the cards to
yeah.
get the set to then get the achievements. I built, not counting Spider-Man, and I had already had Wolverine. I built a Series 1 set for like 125, I think.
Mm, yeah,
So, but we say it almost every week. Like, if you're opening the packs, and it's with all the seal product, if you're especially the new stuff, you guys,
yeah.
like Jay mentioned it earlier, with how many parallels there are, how many hits there are, it's the gamble aspect of trying to get that big hit. With
Mm.
Unbound, it's trying to get that auto, trying to get that printing plate, trying to get that sketch this year. It's not about trying to get the base or the rainbow. It's trying to get that chase.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, if I wanted to put together Unbound, I was looking at this actually. I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think I'll do it for this COMC order because there's still a fair few of them, even though they're really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But I can get most of the base cards for $2 or $3. Very few
Yeah.
exceptions.
Yeah.
If not, probably even slightly less. And there's a ton of them on there. Even like Odin from last week, because they're just on there straight away. So, I'll do that because I do want to own a set of Unbound. And Jay, this is worth bearing in mind. Unbound, if you do go for a newer set, Unbound's not a bad shout because while it's crazy to actually buy it from fresh, if you go and buy it on the secondary and you just want the art without all the parallels and stuff like that, it's 52 cards.
Yeah. Well, and I've noticed that too. There's some
It's
guys
actually a
selling
relatively small set,
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed there's some guys selling like the earlier Unbound sets, then there's
Mm-hmm.
pretty decently priced. So like if I
Yeah.
was gonna go that route, like I said, like I'm just gonna wait it out.
Yeah.
Even if there's cards from the new masterpiece, like I've already noticed like some of them are kind of starting to drop, right? And then once
yeah.
E-Pack comes out, I'm sure they're gonna be way cheaper, right? But
Mhm.
my problem is like I want all of them, right? The whole set, so like with all these parallels, if I get one, I got to have the other
So
ones,
you
and
do want
then
the parallels. Oh, well, in that case, forget it.
yeah, so like that's where I got to keep it simple for me. Like the '90s sets, like there is a limit to the
90s or
set,
bust.
right?
Right. Okay.
You
Fair
you
enough.
you can get the whole thing, and then
Mm,
way cheaper than you would this newer stuff.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But like as for the sealed product aspect of it, there's no way I'm dropping $1,000 on the case because that's what it would be Canadian for like one of those boxes of masterpieces, right? It's like that's a lot for me. So, but
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. Like I gotta have I want all the inserts, so I can't just have one parallel and then there's
Mm,
like 40
mm,
of them. So
mm, mm. Um, as one fella, this is interesting. So Doug Myers, with other trading cards, I've reached this point. Still have a long way to go with Marvel before I ever feel this way. I ended up selling most of my collections of the other trading cards, keeping only the really special stuff and moving on to something else that gave me back that original excitement. I think that original excitement factor is the key thing. Because if you don't feel it, then you find yourself stopping and thinking, oh, okay, I've got all these cards. I'm a bit skint, and I'm not feeling it. I mean, that's probably the worst position to be in, and I know people who've done that. Um, it sounds to me like you're still very much getting the joy and the excitement from it. All these years later, especially if you're able to share it with your daughter, Jay. How old's your daughter, Jay? Do you mind me asking?
she's only 3. She's
Okay,
3.5
long
actually.
way
So
to go.
she's
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
yeah, long way to go, but like she already knows what cards are and the superheroes, right? So, and she's excited about it. Like I said, she thinks she's Spider-Man. So,
yeah,
which is great. So hopefully she just carries it on,
yeah.
gets that excitement when she's older.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just try and stop her jumping off things, won't you? Because I
Yeah,
I
she's
made that
yeah.
mistake with mine.
Well, she's my daughter too, so like she might do some crazy stuff.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. This is fascinating. There's some really good points on here. Um, Stephen Shane, I collected Hot Wheels for 32 years and lost my passion for it and sold 80% of my collection. 6 months later, I opened my Marvel card binders and started collecting cards again. One day I will stop collecting and probably sell, telling myself it was another killer collection I had, moving on to build HO scale military dioramas of World War II armor again. For now, I'm content with feeling my childhood. And yeah, some people do that. You know, some people do actually move from hobby to hobby to hobby and then sell and absolutely fine with that. But there are people who do have collections that they say, they will just want to be in the tomb with them. Um, Joe Reinwald, collecting is in my genes. If it's not cards, it would be something else. I don't know about you, but I can relate to that. I mean, I've always collected something. What were you collecting before cards, Nath?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. It was just cards. Like when I was a kid, it was basketball cards. And then I
Right.
got into Marvel in the about 94 when Flair came out. And then I wasn't collecting anything. Well, I guess I had the collectible things, but I wasn't collecting them. Like I had like Budweiser beer steins
Oh, okay.
that I'd have like the holiday ones.
Yeah,
Came
yeah,
out once a year. My wife would get it for me for Christmas. So technically I was collecting those. But
yeah,
yeah, I wasn't going out of my way to find stuff and buy stuff.
yeah. It's kind of an accidental collection, that one, I guess.
Yeah,
We've all got those.
absolutely.
We've all got those. Yeah. That's interesting. Apart from injuries when you were overseas and things like that. What about you, Jay? Have you ever collected
Guitars.
anything other than cards? Has it just been cards?
Guitars.
Oh, guitars. There we go.
Yeah. No, I was in a metal band for quite a while. So like get my thing was guitars
I can see it
and
on your arm
music.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I got two. So yeah, kind of we had a good run. So like I was just picking up guitars when I could, but then that was a pricey thing too. Like my one guitar is $1,400, and they go for you can get guitars for like $5,000 and
Yeah.
even more. So like it's kind of the same thing. You gotta do what you can, right? And the guitars I had, I got to make payments on, right, and stuff like that because
Wow.
dropping $1,000 is just not feasible. But back then I didn't have kids or a family or nothing, so it was way easier then.
Yeah.
Kind of wish I was into the Marvel cards, like if I knew about all this 10 years ago, like I'd have everything I'd ever want, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
everything got so expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a guy as a collectibles. So he definitely goes more the investing route. I was collecting for
Mhm.
7 years and realized that I didn't have a kid, so found wife just so that I could have kids and continue my collection. Um, I've gone the opposite way now and went full throttle, thinking that my 5-year-old son is going to benefit from my madness. My hope is that he will pick up from where I left off and make decent coin from my collection 10, 20 years down the road. I honestly can do this all day now with him around. So yeah, I would say get a kid. It's the next stage of collecting to create a being to inherit it off you so that you can continue collecting forever. That's a nice sentiment. So basically, breed so that you've got. And it sounds Jay sounds like you've done that. Nath
Yeah.
sounds like you've done that. I've definitely done that. And she's we went to the nearest used comic place, or the only decent comic place in the area. And he also stocks Pokemon. Um, and she went in to the binders and she said, "Dad, can I have this? Dad, can I have this?" I was mentally doing the sums. I was like, "Okay, hold it. Here's," and I gave her a note out of my wallet. I said, "You've got that much to spend." So keep it within that. So I thought rather than her like come to me with like $50 worth of cards and say, "Can I have all these?" I said, "Right, here's this amount. You can have that many." And that was really quite good. It's quite good for her to kind of realize the value of things and stuff like that. But she made out like a bandit. But she loves them, you know. She
Yeah.
probably loves them more than the Marvel stuff now, I'd say, because she finds them cuter. So
Cute.
there's
Yeah.
yeah, so there's definitely that next generation kind of vibe there. But other than that, she tends to steal all my female superhero cards. But yeah, there are people who do. There is another guy who we've had on the podcast before, and he hasn't commented on this, but Brian Bode, and he's similar. He's very frank about the fact that he collects and buys some particular stuff and speculates on particular stuff so that it will accumulate, so that it will be an inheritance for his. He's got two boys in this case, for his sons. And I don't know about I can see the mindset. I don't think of it in those terms. Do you ever look at it in that way, Nath?
I do, yeah. And to the last comment you had read on there, it kind of ties into Oz's, comment, that it's, something for him 10 to 20 years to be able to potentially make some money on. And I look back to 10 to 20 years and those sets from 10 to 20 years ago and go, okay, how many of those cards are worth anything now? And will the cards today be worth anything in 10 to 20 years from now? And there's other elements that have to go into that. Grading has to go into that, because you can look at, you could buy 90 MU cards for less than $1 a piece. A lot of times it's the grade that ends up affecting that value long term. So will it be the grades affect these values long term? Will there be something new that comes out that circumvents grading completely and like passes that? Like, what's the next level of grading your slabs? Like, what condition are your slabs in? Because we already see, like, this protector holds the slab and the slab holds this, and like you got these 20 layers of protection. Wow. So is that going to affect, is that going to be something that affects the values in 20 years from now? It's like, how is that going to grow and scale? But then it is like, what's the size of the hobby in 10 to 20 years? So I just go back to not worrying so much about that, and just like, don't hurt my family in the meantime that I'm enjoying the hobby that I like. And that's the easiest way for me to manage my collection. But I understand hey, if I go after these certain things, you get people that amass a large amount of PMGs. Are those PMGs going to be worth a lot? We've seen PMGs go crazy high levels to come right back down to affordable levels for a lot of people nowadays, other than those top few select sets, right? So,
or certain characters and certain limited numbers of them, they're just currently in black holes, effectively owned by some very rich people, and at some point they will put them back onto the market. And I know that these people are specifically aiming to profit off that. That's their kind of long-term goal. They're investors. They want to make money.
But those cards, when you look at the overall amount of stuff that is produced, those cards are few and far between.
Tiny. Yeah.
It's absolutely a small portion of it.
Yeah. I always cast my mind back to when the Phantom Menace came out, and all these people buying multiples of Darth Maul action figures and putting them in their lofts and sealing them away. I mean, I've not looked on eBay, but how much is a Darth Maul action figure mint on card worth these days for the original from the original 1999 release?
Probably more than what it was then. I mean, the Darth Maul has that nice cult following that you.
Well, I guess so. No, it was just an example.
20, 30 years.
Yeah. I do find it interesting that stuff that is made. There was a phase of stuff that was deliberately made, especially in the toy line from movies, and it actually said limited edition when it came out. It was designed, they're making thousands of the fuckers. But it's because there was that mentality about, because it was at that point that all the late 70s, early 80s toys were starting to do this, and people realized, there's some money in this. Oi, Joyce, we got some of them in the shed. Quick, get them out. I'm going to go on Antiques Roadshow and see if I can make a few bob. And to be fair to them, some especially the original Star Wars ones are actually worth quite a bit. But no, that was just an example of that. That kind of because some people do collect and store sealed boxes, and for the most part, in the short term, I would say certainly stuff over the last 5 years is probably holding and accumulating quite nicely. Certainly masterpieces, possibly Premiere. I don't know. But whenever a Masterpiece 2016 box comes on the market, it's at a higher price point and it always moves. always moves. You know.
Yeah, I think during the boom, what were those? Those were $4,000 or $5,000 a box for the 2016, and now you can get it like just under three, I think.
This is crazy. This is crazy. So just before the boom,
Still
I
lots.
remember Joe Gisco found a case that he'd been sent from Upper Deck, and he autographed each box over the seal, and then sold them on the MMC group. And I think he was doing them around $500-600. So
Wow.
you know, and that was that. Yeah, that was like 2019 time. It was quite hilarious actually because he did little videos of him with the boxes. Yeah, you had to be there. I'm gonna kind of circle us into land on this one with a comment from Alan Michael. Now, I love Alan. He's a very nice man in New York. I love Alan because he went out of his way to go to the opening exhibition of the Simone Bianchi set release from Masterpieces 2018 and got me a copy of Simone's book and got it signed for me. So he will always hold a special place in my heart for doing that. Alan, I muse, in parentheses, agonize on this topic all the time, in capitals, mainly about my other collecting hobby, action figures, Marvel Legends, Star Wars. I have limited living space and those things take up a lot of room. Luckily, cards are much smaller, but the thing is, I'm not the kind of person to have or want a collection room. So unlike you, Jay, you know, you want your man cave.
Yep.
Got no interest in one. I mean, I'm in my man cave, and Nath, I think you are too.
You do. Yep.
A collection room where all my stuff is out on display, even though I have enough stuff for one. As a result, most of my stuff is in boxes with a few curated items on display that get rotated around. The point is, I often wonder what good is a collection that is 90% packed away in boxes. I get an overwhelming sense that it's a waste of time, money, and space, but it's no fun thinking about getting rid of things I truly enjoy. I constantly go back and forth. That's an interesting one. Nate, you're in a fortunate position where you can display stuff behind you there.
But I do get that way with my binders though, because I've got a bunch of binders over here for my sets, and I've got some binders back over here that are for my sets.
Yeah.
So I have went back and forth with myself with the very similar comments that he made there. Like, how often do I go through these binders? Usually only when I'm putting new stuff in there that has to fill a blank spot.
Yeah.
It's that completionist aspect. Like Jay said, I want to complete it. So they just sit there. And I'm like, well, what happens when I complete it? And that goes back to one of the earlier comments. Well, what happens when you complete that goal? I don't know. I'll put a sticker on the binder to say it's done.
Right.
And then it'll be like,
red dot on
and then it'll be like, I want to complete all these. And that'll be the next goal, is to get them all filled. And
but
it's what you do at that point. It's like, I don't know. Then you become a hoarder.
Well, yeah.
That's
exactly.
how the wife looks at it.
What was that, Jay?
That's how the wife looks at it. She's like,
Really?
"What are you gonna do with all these? Do you even look at them?" I'm like, "Sometimes I do, though, but it's very rare."
Yeah.
Like Nathan said, you just open it up, complete that, and then put it back away and put a sticker on it. Done. That's
yeah.
I mean, part of it is the hunt as well. I think that a lot of people just enjoy the hunt aspect.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy. It gives you that fear of missing out, though, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
But if you can get over that, like, it's just hunting those cards down. It's pretty fun. That's what I enjoy about.
Yeah,
lots.
It's the chase and acquisition. I think for a lot of people enjoy. Yeah.
To be fair, even with the display. Too. Oh, go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
Oh no, it's the excitement too, because when those cards come, that finish off your set when you open your mailbox, and like, "Oop, there it is!" And you run into the house,
or you open your mailbox and you're not expecting something, and you're like, "What is this?"
Right, because you forgot about. Like, I'll do that. I'll get so many trades
it was
going.
ComC shipment from 4 to 6 weeks ago, and you're like, "What did I send home?"
You've forgotten. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, even with the display, like, I don't look in there that often, other than when I'm putting a new figure in or a new card in. But when you do look in there, it's like, okay, that's where that card came from. This person gave me that card, or I traded for this card. So those memories come back, and then
yeah. Have you got any natural light in that room, or is it windowless?
In my room?
No, in Nafe's.
Go on. Sorry,
there's a little garage. I'm just in the corner of the garage in here.
Oh, okay.
But there's a couple light bulbs up here, but no, it's all just light.
Oh, okay. No. Just one of my things, because I've got this studio that's been finished only a few months now, relatively well, about 5. And I've got a window and a natural light window, and that's the one thing that's stopping me from putting stuff out too much.
Mhm.
So I think I need to get like a blind or something on there, because it does need a window.
Blackout shade, yeah.
Yeah, it does need a window, because I park like a trooper and the microphone doesn't pick it up. But I've probably filled this room with more methane that comes out of an average cow in the last hour whilst talking to you fellas. Uh, Not quite true, but you get the gist. It gets stuffy in here, so you do need some ventilation, but the same way with the light. But
Mhm.
I've really gotten into, and I need to order some. What I want to do is have a display of stuff up top back here, rather than it just have stuff on, so that I can actually look at stuff when I'm in here. But half of it, it's like there was a phrase, um, when I used to work in theatres, um, that if you go into a theatre and you sit in a box, boxes are to be seen in, not to see from, because they're often the worst view of the stage because they're on the side or up high. And it's
Mhm.
similar with a lot of this stuff. It's good window dressing for us when we're on this sort of thing. But,
Yep.
I mean, how often do you, I don't know, some people might not look at it. Some people curate it like those people who do bushes with tiny little nail clippers, and they're constantly tweaking and moving it around, and that's how they get the joy
Mhm.
out of the hobby. So, I guess it takes all sorts of folks. But what I find I really enjoy is changing storage and upgrading storage options, because then I have to like engage with the cards more.
Yeah.
That's what I've been enjoying a lot this year. Is like, okay, if it's not in a binder, or if I don't need the set, which cards am I keeping? And then maybe I can display them in a different way, or store them in a different way, or you get those 9 card screw down frames. I could happily stick a load of those around the room.
Yeah.
I
And that'd
think
be
the way
cool.
I engage most with my extra cards is like when I find somebody that has or wants to do some trades, like so I can help fill my binder sets,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're also a set builder, because I can go, all right, these are the sets I have a bunch of extras from. See if we can do something.
yeah,
See if we
yeah,
can
yeah. Of
swap some
course.
cards around. Because then
Yeah.
you're going through them and you're looking at them and you're like looking at the backs and getting the card numbers and
Mm,
kind of enjoying that aspect. And it
yeah.
takes me back to the early 90s as a kid, like when I was doing basketball cards, was you'd open packs and your friends would open packs. You'd be like, all right, I got doubles of this one, you got doubles of this one. Let's,
Yeah.
and you swap. And
Yeah.
it wasn't about what a card was worth. You just made a trade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right. That's what I like too, is just like, you got something that I want, I got something that you want, let's work it out. Like
Mm,
Yeah.
there's like some guys be like, well, my card's worth $100 and yours is only worth 89. I gotta throw something else in, or
yeah.
stuff like that. I'm pretty easy like that. Like if
Yep.
we can make a good trade or something, let's just do it.
Yeah.
I understand there's cards that are worth a lot of money, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes
which is
people,
different.
sometimes people will do a trade, especially on EPAC, just to help a brother out,
Yeah, and
Yep.
that's
which is cool. Other times you get a comment back saying, "Well, this one's only worth 20 on ComC, but it's $12 worth of stuff." It's like,
right.
Mhm.
okay, whatever. To be fair, I've been guilty of that when I'm over trying to justify to someone that I'm trying to sell them a trade. I'm trying to talk them into it and give them the car dealership kind of spiel, on EPAC chat, which doesn't really work. I've discovered over the years, but yet I still do it. But literally, as you were talking there, someone has just accepted a trade for the last
Wonderful.
card I need to complete a particular card rainbow from one division, and it's like a random base card with just an image on that I like, and they just had one of the black and white parallels, and I only had 5 digital cards that were on their wish list, which isn't really a fair thing for a numbered card that's a physical. So I just said, look, this is as much as I got on your wish list. Here's an autograph from a Spider-Man Homecoming set. I know it's not on your wish list, but it's something of value that you can then use. Is that going to work for you? If not, counter. And it's like, at least be respectful enough to offer something that might be that guy can
Yep.
then use, and he can find someone who wants that and then use it himself. So
Right.
that's what it's all about, I guess, from the trading aspect. Um, Alan's second part of thing, I like the sentiment here, so I was going to kind of draw us to a bit of a close on this one. When we hear this, um, I'm also unlikely to have kids, so I often think about giving stuff away to random people when I die, friends, fellow collectors, that guy down the street who once mentioned he liked Spider-Man. Or you can have it auctioned and have the proceeds donated to a charity, as long as it doesn't end up in a landfill. A collection that brought someone joy in life should be enjoyed by as many people as possible. I can't argue with that sentiment, really, can
No.
you? So,
No, that's what I don't want to happen. Is everything go in the garbage?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's the
Yeah,
worst thing.
that'd just be a bitter shame, you know.
Yeah, I mean, my
That's where
mum.
the idea of a museum, like that would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
You
I like
know,
that. I like that.
donate all this stuff to this Marvel card museum. You should start.
Yeah, well, some would argue, looking at the state of some of my binders and boxes here that I already have. There was a little side conversation that sprouted up off the back of my comment, where I said this would be a wonderful discussion for the podcast, and here we are. John Beebe commented, you could also speculate on all the ghost accounts on EPAC. And someone else said that deserves its own show. And the response was true, but it could be brought up as to what plans one would have if they met with an untimely demise. Would the cards just sit in Upper Deck's EPAC warehouse? And this I like, because I've often now, Jay, I know you don't do the EPAC thing, but Nath, you'll have experienced this. There are accounts that have been inactive for years that have gold in them. I mean, literal gold in them. They have cards in there that are like, motherfucker, just log on to EPAC so that you can trade me this card. And I've amused it before. And I don't know if it's in Upper Deck's EPAC's terms and conditions, and maybe it isn't, which is why they've never done this. But at some point, why wouldn't they do like a storage wars kind of thing? Where if the account hasn't been touched for a certain amount of time, then let's crack it open. I mean, how would that even work? But I mean,
that's the tough part, right? Because like you said there, if an account's been locked up that long or just hasn't been touched, maybe the person did pass on and their family just doesn't even know about it.
Or have the password, yeah.
Yeah, or have the password. And what could you do? What would be the legalities of Upper Deck doing something with that account?
I know.
That'd be very tough.
It is. It's an interesting one because I know of at least.
But that would be fun. That would be fun.
It would be fun. I mean, let's speculate. I mean, you could seriously, Upper Deck, you're missing a trick here because I'm sure they could have someone make a TV show based on this. But on a slightly more somber note, I know of at least 2 collectors in the hobby who have passed away in the last few years, and their EPAC accounts are still there. And they've got some fire in those EPAC accounts, and it is literally going to sit there until they switch off those servers or liquidate that warehouse because or there's a massive fire at the warehouse or whatever.
I wonder, so who they are. Have you reached out to try to reach out to their family and be like, hey, that they have
that's a fair point. I haven't looked at their accounts in a while, so I don't know if subsequent to that if they've been that's a fair point because what if the family didn't know? I mean, one of them is Rodney, bless him, who's a big collector of blob, and I know his account's still there because it's on my friends list on EPAC. Often when I go down my friends list on EPAC, I'm like, who are these people? Because you never remember what their names are relative to them in real life. But yeah, Blob Fan is still there. And it's got over 1,000 cards in the account. Only 9 trades, but yeah, I can never, because my eyes aren't very good with colors. There's a tiny little round icon next to someone's user on EPAC that says when they last logged in, and it changes color relative to when they last logged in. I can never tell what they mean, the colors. I've no clue whatsoever. I don't know why they make it so difficult. Why can't you have it so that when you mouse over it, it actually pops up and says, over a year or whatever it is? But I have a feeling if it's the color I think it is, because I can't really tell, that obviously the account hasn't been accessed for X number of years. So it's a shame because, fair point. There could be family members who are missing out on stuff. So, but yeah, EPAC storage wars. Yeah, I'd be up for that.
That would be actually pretty cool.
That would be pretty
But
cool.
Upper Deck locks the account for a certain amount of time, so you can't see what's in there. And then you just bid on the account.
It could it could actually
Based on
that's
the
not
name of the account.
that's not a
That'd
bad
be
idea.
exciting.
And the number of items in it, and
They
then
just show you how
basically-
many are physical, how many
Yeah.
are digital, what
But-
sets they're from, not what the
but-
cards are.
Yeah, but here's the thing: there is a physical
Exactly.
element where people go somewhere because they will wheel out a trolley with a box
Mhm.
on it, and they will open it, and in there could just be that many physical cards because the rest were digital, or it could be stacked to the gills with top loaders and different
Yeah.
stuff. And that's where you get the physical element in there. I'm sure the ComC warehouse folk will be fantastic. Yeah, let's turn this into a film set. Not, but you could make it work. I mean, I'd watch the hell out of that.
I would watch it too. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, come on, Upper Deck, ComC, sort your terms and conditions out. Let's make that happen. Jay, who's your of your sets from the 90s? Who's your top end? Who's your favorite?
My favorite set. That's actually
or artist, because there's
my
an end
artist.
point to this point.
I don't have a favorite artist. It's whatever grabs me. I actually like them
Same
all.
way.
Like
Same
my
way.
I have my favorite sets are, my first one would be the 90 Impel, because that was my first one. It's so nostalgic to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But then I love like the 95 masterpieces, even more than the 96 masterpieces, right? Like there's some that I don't like on that set, but then again, like I also really love that 1996 Marvel Motion set.
Oh yeah, that doesn't get enough love.
I love those cards. They just how they move, and like I got one of the promos now. I actually just got it in. I want the other. I think there's a couple more, but those are just remind me of the cartoon, watching it back when I was a kid, right? And how they move, like, so it's weird because like I like different sets for different reasons, and like they'll say like the golden webs from the 1995 Clear Out to Spider-Man and the masterpieces from that set. Those are some of my favorite cards. Like the art on, like I think those are underrated from that set myself, right? So for me to pick one artist, or I don't know, man, I love them all. Like I even got I pulled a Rob Liefeld autographed card from the Wrestler set like a couple years ago. It was like my first sealed product I opened, right? And like I got in a top loader, but like the art on that is almost terrible, but like I love it. You know what I mean? Like he's got no feet, right? Because Rob Liefeld can't drop
feet. Yeah.
Right. So, but it's nostalgic for me. So anything that grabs me, right, that's just what I love.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, you've described that in your description. There is one artist. So basically, the audio version of this podcast has an artist intro at the front. And as we haven't discussed any artists specifically, I'm going to nominate Peter Scanlan, one of the 4 artists who did Marvel Masterpieces 95, who I believe also did some of those Masterpieces cards from the Fleer Ultra Spider-Man as well. So his audio intro will be at the top of this episode because he's a lovely man, and we've used Dave quite recently, Dave DeVries. So Pete, you're up. As an aside, I saw something on Instagram today that made me feel really old. Rob, is it Liefeld or Liefeld?
I think it's Liefeld. I want to say. I don't know for sure.
He's about to become a grandfather.
Oh.
So how's that to make you feel a bit ancient in your whiskers?
I got 3 grandkids, so
you got. Oh my goodness me! Yeah, you. That's because you was a player back in the day. Anyway, on that note, I think it's probably best that we wrap this up. Jay, I've given you no prompting whatsoever for this. But do you want to sign off the episode with our friendly catchphrase, which is "enjoy collecting"?
Sure, if you want.
Go
so
for
we
it,
signing off?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming on.
And enjoy collecting.
It has been fun. It's been a really good conversation. Thank you. I enjoyed that. And Jordan, before actually, I normally fade it out there, but Jordan, thank you for that wonderful topic and for letting us discuss that on the podcast. And we will dedicate this to Jordan. Anyway, he's not dead. I don't know why I said that. Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast. Tasting notes and visuals for each episode can be found on our Facebook page. We're on most social media at the MCC Pod, and you can also watch the video of each episode recording on our YouTube channel. Leave us a voicemail via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and review our show wherever you find us. Our Facebook community is at MCCW, Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, and MMC, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors. The great music we use on our audio version is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting.